In South Korea, the housing rental system is unique and can be quite different from what you may be familiar with in other countries. The two main types of rental contracts are Jeonse and Wolse. These systems are distinct in terms of payment structure, duration, and security for both the tenant and landlord. 1. Jeonse is a long-term, lump-sum deposit rental system that is unique to South Korea. It is a popular method of renting a home, especially for those who have a significant amount of savings. How it works. Deposit: the tenant pays a large, one-time upfront deposit to the landlord. This deposit typically ranges from 50% to 80% of the property's market value. The exact amount can vary depending on the property's location and condition. Rent: the tenant does not pay monthly rent. Instead, they give the landlord the deposit for the duration of the lease, which is usually 2 years. The landlord can use this deposit to invest or earn interest. Return of deposit: at the end of the lease, the landlord must return the full deposit to the tenant, provided there are no damages or other outstanding issues. There are no additional payments required during the lease term. Advantages of Jeonse: no monthly rent payments are required, which can be financially easier for people with a large sum of money saved up. It offers stability for both tenants and landlords. The landlord gets a large deposit that can be invested, and the tenant gets a fixed term without worrying about rent increases. There is no rent inflation since the rent is not paid monthly, but through the deposit. Disadvantages of Jeonse: the major drawback is the large upfront deposit, which can be difficult for many people to afford. The deposit is often around 50% to 80% of the home's value, meaning that the tenant must have significant savings or financial backing. If the real estate market falls or the landlord goes bankrupt, retrieving the full deposit could become problematic. Why landlords prefer Jeonse? For landlords, Jeonse is attractive because they receive a large sum of money upfront. This money can be used for other investments or financial needs, earning interest or appreciation over time. 2. Wolse is a more traditional rental system in Korea, similar to monthly rent systems found in many other countries, though it still has a distinctive structure. How it works. Deposit: in Wolse, the tenant typically pays a smaller security deposit, usually ranging from several thousand to tens of thousands of dollars, often far less than in Jeonse. Monthly rent: in addition to the deposit, the tenant pays a monthly rent, which is generally lower than what it would be in a typical rental system in the West. The amount of rent is negotiated between the tenant and the landlord. Duration: like Jeonse, Wolse contracts are usually for 2 years, but this can vary. The monthly rent is fixed during the contract term, though the landlord may choose to raise it upon renewal. Advantages of Wolse: lower initial deposit compared to Jeonse, which makes it more accessible to people without large amounts of savings. More flexibility in terms of upfront costs, allowing tenants to rent even without having a significant amount of capital. There's generally more mobility for tenants because the deposit and rent are lower, so the cost of changing homes is easier to manage. Disadvantages of Wolse: monthly rent payments can add up over time, which can be a financial burden. In some cases, the landlord may not return the deposit in full, especially if there are damages to the property. Why landlords prefer Wolse? Landlords prefer Wolse over Jeonse if they want regular monthly income, instead of relying on the lump sum deposit. Wolse is also a less risky option for landlords compared to Jeonse, because they can ask for a monthly rent payment if the tenant fails to meet the deposit return terms at the end of the lease. 3. Choosing between Jeonse and Wolse. Which option you choose depends on your financial situation, lifestyle preferences, and future plans. Here's a breakdown. If you have significant savings or access to financial resources, Jeonse might be a better option, since you won't need to make monthly payments, and you'll get your deposit back at the end of the contract. However, the initial cost can be prohibitively high for many people. If you don't have enough savings for a Jeonse deposit or prefer to pay a smaller upfront cost, Wolse might be the better option, though you'll pay rent every month. The deposit is much more manageable, and the risk of financial strain is lower in the short term. 4. Market trends and risks. Jeonse price trends. The price of Jeonse deposits tends to fluctuate based on the real estate market. In times of economic growth or housing market booms, Jeonse deposits can rise sharply. Conversely, during market downturns, they may decrease, which can be an opportunity for tenants to secure better deals. Wolse rent increases. While Wolse rents are typically more predictable, landlords may still increase rents when renewing contracts, especially if the market conditions change. The rate of rent increase is often negotiable, but can still pose a challenge for tenants if market rents rise significantly. 5. Legal protections. South Korea's housing rental market is heavily regulated to protect both tenants and landlords. Key regulations include: lease renewal. Tenants are generally entitled to renew their contracts for a second term if they wish, although this depends on the terms of the contract. Deposit protection. If a landlord fails to return a Jeonse deposit or tries to withhold a Wolse deposit unfairly, tenants can seek legal recourse through the Korean courts. Government support. The Korean government has introduced various measures over the years to make housing more affordable and secure, including regulations to limit rent increases and financial assistance for Jeonse tenants. Conclusion. In summary, the Jeonse and Wolse systems offer distinct advantages and challenges. Jeonse is suitable for those with substantial savings, who prefer to make a one-time deposit and avoid monthly payments, while Wolse is better for those with less upfront capital who are comfortable with monthly rent payments. Both systems are well regulated and have specific legal protections to safeguard tenants and landlords alike. Understanding these two types of contracts can help you make an informed decision when renting a home in South Korea.